Like, guys, you don't.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point? The other
So
prince.
you got to go to again.
How about the other prince, the one that's Epstein's friend?
Oh, Andrew. Yeah, that was.
What?
Yeah.
First of all, how odd is that guy when they're interviewing him and talking to him?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
The Queen kicked him.
January 2026 didn't just trend. It detonated across timelines, headlines, podcasts, and comment sections at once. The kind of moment that doesn't quietly unfold, but crashes into public consciousness with force. And at the center of it, once again, was Meghan Markle.
Influential man in the world, Time magazine should have been.
No, Meghan Markle beat me.
God. How if it's most influential, there should be there's no debate. Nobody's even in the same category as you.
I don't know. I don't think about it. I try not to. It's a little complicated.
I'm thinking about it, though.
I really shouldn't be.
For years, she appeared to have moved beyond the early whispers that followed her into royal life. The scattered online rumors, the half-told stories, the speculative blog posts, they seemed buried under streaming deals, memoirs, interviews, and carefully curated public appearances. To many observers, the narrative had stabilized. Whatever noise once lingered in internet corners had faded into background static. Or so it seemed. Then Joe Rogan mentioned her, and when Joe Rogan mentions something, it doesn't stay small, it doesn't stay niche, it doesn't stay confined to gossip columns. His platform is one of the largest in the world, reaching millions across audio, video, clips, reposts, and reaction content. When he asks questions, they echo.
And you can imagine, since we first revealed this video on last night's show, the reaction around the world has been extraordinary. Piers Morgan posted on X.
When he revisits old narratives, they resurface fast. This wasn't a tabloid headline. It wasn't a speculative blog thread. It was a high-visibility conversation happening in a space that doesn't operate by traditional media rules. Rogan is known for speaking freely, pushing controversial topics into the open, and questioning narratives that others avoid. Titles, status, celebrity. Those don't automatically shield anyone in that format. What changed in January wasn't necessarily the substance of the rumors circulating online. It was the scale.
A lot of the things he says in Spare about this, well, we want that story to die, so we're going to give you this story. However, he does it today. Him and Meghan do the same thing today. I've seen that Meghan and Harry tried to.
Rogan reportedly revisited long-standing internet speculation about Meghan's early social circles and her pre-royal career years. He didn't present confirmed accusations. He asked why certain topics seemed off-limits in mainstream coverage, why some connections are dismissed as conspiracy by default, why discussions around elite networking culture trigger immediate shutdowns instead of open investigation. And that's where the temperature shifted. Because once something is framed as "why can't we talk about this?", it invites audiences to dig deeper themselves. Clips get cut, quotes get isolated, threads appear on X, Reddit discussions multiply, reaction channels spin up breakdowns, supporters defend, critics amplify, and suddenly what once lived in online margins is being debated in broad daylight. Behind the scenes, observers speculated about damage control. Public figures in high-profile positions often rely on structured messaging, legal oversight, and carefully managed press relationships. But podcast ecosystems operate differently. There are no palace correspondents, no formal press briefings, no negotiated access. Just conversation. Rogan has criticized Meghan before him publicly and bluntly. In past episodes, he questioned aspects of her media strategy, commented on branding choices, and expressed skepticism about certain public narratives. His style isn't soft. It isn't ceremonial. It isn't deferential. That consistency is part of what makes his commentary resonate with his audience. So when he revisited controversial online discussions, not as statements of fact, but as open questions, it created a surge. Not because new evidence had emerged, but because amplification changes impact. There's an important distinction here. Rumors circulating in isolated forums rarely move culture. When those same rumors are brought into massive mainstream adjacent platforms, even cautiously, they gain oxygen. They gain legitimacy in the sense that people feel permitted to discuss them openly. And in the age of digital virality, permission is powerful. Some supporters argue that resurfacing unverified internet chatter only fuels misinformation. Others argue that ignoring persistent public questions fuels distrust. That tension sits at the center of modern celebrity culture, particularly when royalty, global media, and digital platforms collide. What makes this moment different isn't proof, it isn't confirmation, it isn't even new information. It's scale, and scale changes everything. Because once a narrative leaves the shadows of obscure blogs and enters a 200 million listener ecosystem, it stops being background noise. It becomes part of the broader public conversation, fair or not. And in today's media landscape, perception can move faster than facts. That's what made January feel explosive. Not a verdict, not a revelation. But amplification.soho House has long been described as more than a private members club. It is often portrayed as a curated access point, a place where entertainment, finance, fashion, media, and politics overlap in carefully controlled environments. Membership is selective. Photography is restricted. Conversations stay inside the walls. That exclusivity is part of the brand, and Marcus Anderson's name frequently surfaces in discussions about that ecosystem. Publicly, he has been identified as a longtime executive within Soho House and widely credited as someone who helped facilitate Meghan's introduction to Prince Harry. That detail has been acknowledged in mainstream reporting for years. What Joe Rogan reportedly does differently is not simply restate that fact. He asks what it means. How do these introductions happen? Who decides who meets whom? What networks were already in motion before the royal chapter began? Those are the angles that, according to online commentary, he keeps pressing. It's important to separate verified history from speculation here. There is documented evidence that Meghan moved within elite social circles before meeting Harry. That is not unusual in entertainment and media industries. Networking at high levels is standard practice. Soho House itself has been publicly associated with celebrities, investors, creatives, and executives for decades. Where the conversation escalates is when internet researchers attempt to draw lines between overlapping names, particularly when those names intersect with controversial figures from the Epstein and Maxwell era. To be clear, no verified evidence has established wrongdoing or confirmed any illicit association between Meghan Markle and criminal activity. Much of what circulates online is speculative, built from social overlap rather than documented involvement. Fact-checkers have already debunked several viral images misidentified as Meghan. Some photos widely shared were confirmed to depict other individuals entirely. However, what Rogan reportedly focuses on is not declaring guilt, but questioning why certain overlaps are never examined publicly. He reportedly frames it as a broader critique of media behavior. Why are some networks scrutinized aggressively while others are dismissed immediately as conspiracy? Why do certain names trigger investigation while others are treated as off-limits? That framing resonates with his audience because it taps into a larger distrust of institutional media. Then there's the Thailand yacht angle that continues to circulate in online communities. Author Kirby Summers has claimed that unpublished photographs may exist from early 2000s yacht events, where powerful figures were present. She has alleged that mainstream outlets have declined to release certain materials due to legal and reputational risk. It's critical to emphasize no publicly verified photograph has confirmed Meghan Markle in inappropriate circumstances tied to criminal activity. Claims about unpublished images remain unverified. But the mere suggestion that media might be withholding material fuels suspicion, and suspicion spreads faster than clarification. Rogan reportedly leans into that dynamic, not asserting proof, but highlighting the unanswered nature of the discussion. Why no clear investigation? Why no definitive denial backed by documented counter-evidence? Why silence instead of transparency? Supporters argue that private citizens are not obligated to disprove every internet rumor. Critics argue that when someone holds royal titles and global influence, higher scrutiny naturally follows. That tension is what keeps the conversation alive. There is also the double standard argument that Rogan allegedly raises. He questions why certain public figures endure relentless coverage over social overlaps, while others seem insulated. Whether one agrees with that framing or not, it's a rhetorical strategy that keeps listeners engaged. And here's the strategic complication. Rogan operates independently of traditional media ecosystems. He is not tied to palace access. He is not reliant on celebrity PR networks for survival. His business model rewards controversy, debate, and open questioning. Attempting to silence or legally intimidate that kind of platform would likely amplify the discussion rather than suppress it, which leaves only two options for anyone at the center of the storm: engage publicly and risk fueling it further, or remain silent and allow the narrative to circulate unchecked. Silence can be interpreted in multiple ways. Supporters call it dignified restraint. Critics call it avoidance. In modern media culture, silence rarely kills a story. It often stretches it. Then there is Prince Harry's position in all of this. If he believes there is no substance to these online allegations, his continued public support of his wife is consistent and understandable. If he ever harbored doubts, speaking about them would carry enormous personal, legal, and reputational consequences. That complexity is rarely acknowledged in viral discourse. What Rogan reportedly does is shift the lens from accusation to plausibility. He paints a hypothetical scenario. What if elite networking preceded the royal relationship? What if introductions were strategic? What if access was carefully cultivated? Those what-if constructions don't require proof to generate impact. They require imagination. And imagination is powerful in public perception. For Harry, the reputational risk isn't necessarily tied to proven facts. It's tied to framing. If audiences begin to view the relationship through a strategic lens instead of a romantic one, perception shifts. Whether fair or not, public image can pivot quickly once a different narrative gains traction. The Soho House component intensifies that shift because the club itself symbolizes discretion and elite access. Billionaires like Ron Burkle have been publicly associated with the brand. High-profile figures from various industries have passed through its membership. That does not imply wrongdoing, but it does create a web of influence that can appear opaque from the outside. Opacity breeds speculation. And when someone like Joe Rogan starts asking questions about what happens in opaque spaces, listeners lean in. The key distinction remains this: questions are not convictions. Speculation is not proof. Social overlap is not criminal implication. But amplification changes scale, and scale changes consequences. What began years ago as niche internet rumor now sits inside a global podcast conversation. Whether that conversation fades or intensifies depends less on clips and more on clarity. Because in the digital era, narratives don't disappear simply because they are uncomfortable. They either get disproven decisively, or they linger. The pressure point, according to commentators, is not just the rumor itself. It is the structure around it. Soho House's entire appeal rests on discretion, private membership, curated access, introductions made quietly, efficiently, and away from cameras. That model is not controversial in itself. Elite networks exist in every major city. High-level professionals connect behind closed doors all the time. But when a global podcast host starts spotlighting how those introductions work, the mystique shifts into scrutiny. Joe Rogan's reported angle is less about proving wrongdoing and more about examining the mechanics. If Soho House facilitates connections at the highest levels, then how are those connections evaluated? Who recommends whom? How does someone rise quickly inside elite circles that are typically impenetrable to outsiders? Those are structural questions. They are not criminal allegations, but they are destabilizing when repeated to a massive audience. Critics argue that networking is standard in entertainment and business. Rising actors, entrepreneurs, and executives all build relationships strategically. There is nothing inherently suspicious about being invited to exclusive events or social gatherings. Supporters of Meghan emphasize exactly that point. Access does not equal impropriety. Invitations do not equal misconduct. Wealthy social environments are not crimes. However, Rogan's framing reportedly shifts the discussion from morality to probability. He asks whether the origin story presented publicly aligns cleanly with the networking footprint visible in elite circles. He highlights timing. He highlights introductions. He highlights proximity to power. And proximity to power, even when innocent, generates intrigue. The Yacht Week. 2016 invitation is one example frequently discussed online. Publicly documented invitations do exist. Whether Meghan attended is not definitively proven. Attendance at luxury yacht events, even if confirmed, would not inherently indicate wrongdoing. But critics argue that such invitations suggest integration into elite social ecosystems earlier than commonly acknowledged. Rogan reportedly uses that as a pivot point, not to accuse, but to ask, what does that level of access represent? Then comes the recurring Andrew question. It is crucial to stress that no verified evidence has established that Meghan Markle had inappropriate involvement with Prince Andrew. Social overlap in elite European and entertainment circles during the early 2000s was extensive. Many public figures crossed paths in various capacities without implication. Yet Rogan reportedly frames the absence of definitive clarification as part of the story itself. His approach is described as deliberate. He poses specific questions, then steps back. He does not assert facts beyond what is publicly documented. He references allegations circulating online but stops short of declaring them proven. That rhetorical technique allows him to maintain plausible distance while amplifying the debate. And amplification is where the real impact lies. When tabloid speculation lives on fringe blogs, it fades. When the same speculation is dissected on a platform reaching millions, it gains durability. Not because it becomes true, but because it becomes visible. Meghan's team reportedly faces a communications dilemma. Engaging directly risks legitimizing rumors. Ignoring them allows alternative narratives to dominate. Public relations strategy traditionally relies on selective engagement, legal pressure, and controlled interviews. That model works when media access is gatekept. It struggles when independent platforms operate outside that system. Harry's role adds further complexity. If he believes the public narrative fully reflects reality, his continued support is consistent. If he perceives any distortions, addressing them publicly would require navigating legal exposure, reputational risk, and personal vulnerability. That internal dynamic remains private. Rogan's larger critique reportedly extends beyond Meghan. He questions media inconsistency. Why are certain public figures relentlessly examined for social overlap while others are shielded from similar scrutiny? Is the difference editorial caution, legal threat, or reputational alliances? Those are systemic media questions, not personal ones. But when attached to a high-profile name, they feel personal. It is also worth acknowledging a broader pattern. In the digital era, perception often outruns verification. A question repeated enough times can feel like an unresolved fact, even when no evidence confirms it. Silence can appear suspicious. Overreaction can appear defensive. The middle ground, calm institutional clarification, is rare. So what happens next? There are only a few pathways forward in situations like this. One is direct clarification backed by verifiable documentation. Another is continued non-engagement, betting that attention cycles will move on. A third is indirect engagement through allies, media proxies, or strategic interviews. At this stage, no formal investigation has confirmed misconduct related to yacht rumors or elite networking overlaps. The allegations remain within the realm of online debate and commentary. That distinction matters, but debate at scale changes stakes. The larger theme emerging from this situation is not yachts or social clubs. It is narrative control in the age of decentralized media. Traditional institutions once shaped stories through coordinated press ecosystems. Today, independent voices with massive platforms can introduce questions faster than official channels can respond. And once millions hear a question, even an unanswered one, it becomes part of the public memory.